Welcome to a busted play, an illegal use of hands to the face short.
So today I want to talk about guys that we think are held back by their teams. And when I put this together, I actually had a pretty decent list. I just thought through every NFL team, and I think we both agreed basically that you kind of have to go with offensive talent here because going on defense, if you're a good defensive player, you should be able to have some production even if you're in a bad scheme. So it's really offenses that hold teams back. So we're almost talking exclusively about offensive players. But who would you like to first discuss that you think is the player that is the most held back by his team in the NFL?
Well, there's a guy who I think you could argue is top three for his position, but his team for some reason went out and got a guy of the same position that he plays. Uh, just is not talked about a lot for some reason. He plays in a pretty big sports market. I just don't know why the Miami Dolphins are holding back Mike Gesicki. It doesn't make any sense. He should be in the conversation as a top three tight end in the NFL. Now, you could definitely argue that he's better than Darren Waller if he got as many touches as Darren Waller did. But the Dolphins, for some reason, want to go away from an extreme talent in Mike Gesicki and spread the ball out to a bunch of wide receivers that Tua might not even be able to throw the ball deep enough to.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
like your pick.
very confusing.
I like your pick. I mean, his athleticism is absolutely insane and undeniable. I don't think there's really, I mean, who else do we got? I mean, maybe Kyle Pitts, but he's not even playing yet. So, I mean, we haven't seen him play in the NFL. There's the other guys you talk about. Kittle's got insane size speed combo, but athleticism, there's almost nobody touching what Mike Gesicki has been doing down in Miami. I think if he did increase his targets, if they increased their targets that they sent to him, he would be an insane talent. I think they should be trying to get him the ball more. They've got what I think to be plenty of receivers, and they added one, like you said, which was kind of unnecessary, I feel. But they've got plenty of receivers, but get the ball to the tight end. I mean, that's going to be a great option for Tua. If you want Tua to start looking like a more polished quarterback as opposed to I guess how I would describe as being a little less sound last season. Yeah, I'd say a good way to do that would be to get the ball to a really athletic tight end that can make some insane catches. So even if he misses some throws slightly, he can make up for his mistakes because he is a really talented player.
Yeah, I think there's only one other tight end that makes as tough catches as Mike Gesicki, and that's Kyle Rudolph. It's just the insane one-handed, contested sideline grabs that Gesicki has are insane. Like, you don't even see Kelsey and Kittle making catches that he does
Yeah.
on a game-to-game basis.
Oh, I agree with you entirely. Yeah, the only thing I'd say with Rudolph, though, is that I still don't think Rudolph is anywhere near Gesicki's athleticism.
Oh,
it's just for whatever
yeah.
reason, when the ball's in the air, Rudolph plays the ball very well in the air.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, my guy is coming from a pretty bad team. Pretty bad team that hasn't helped him out, even though I think he's a very talented player. There was one other running back that I had on my list that I've talked about many a times before, which is Marlon Mack, who I think still is being held back by the Colts. But at least there's kind of a slight reason for it because they still have other running backs that they should be using because they are good running backs. But the Colts, and also it's partially Marlon Mack's fault because he hasn't left the Colts when he should have. This other guy, though, doesn't have anybody blocking him. Can't leave yet. He's on a team and he has to stay for a while. I think he could be very impressive, and I just don't think he gets enough touches. I also think the scheme hurts him, and the fact that the team around him, at least on his side of the ball, is atrocious. I think Miles Sanders is probably one of the most hurt players by what the team is around him. You want to look at a quarterback who hasn't proven much of anything yet. So, I mean, how scared are you going to be of the passing attack? Besides Devontae Smith, I don't think that many of the receivers from the team last year scare him. The tight end is probably going to be Dallas Goedert, who could be something of a weapon, but also really isn't that insane, so he's not scaring you. There's no part of the passing game that's really scaring you. And yet the Eagles last season were like one of the most pass-happy teams in the league. Meanwhile, you look at their offensive line, and it's like it's very talented. There's plenty of talent on that offensive line. They should be able to run the ball pretty well. But instead they choose to not run the ball as often. And I think if they maybe got to running the ball a little more, they may be a better team, especially with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Not a lot of teams nowadays that I want to say run to set up the pass. Most of the time it's pass first, and then we'll run it when we feel like we have an advantage in the run game. But maybe Philadelphia is one of the teams that actually should be a run-first team. I just don't know if they have the depth behind Miles Sanders to necessarily do that.
Yeah, Miles Sanders is not talked about at all. He's one of the better players in the entire NFC East, and he just is buried on that roster of garbage. Hopefully, with Nick Sirianni coming over there and seeing what the Colts did and adapted with the run game to see how efficient that became late in the season, brings over some of what Frank Reich was calling and what he was working on in practice with those guys to Philadelphia. And that would help Jalen Hurts so much too, just being able to, because you have a running back that can consistently get you 3-4 yards a carry, especially with like a veteran offensive line that they have with so much talent on it. He could easily get you 3-4 yards a carry and help out your second year quarterback that's really trying to come into his own as a consistent starter.
Yes.
Just you need someone to believe in him, and it feels like Doug Peterson and his coaching staff was like, we just need a running back. Carson Wentz is going to throw the ball. We just need someone back there that he can hand the rock off to.
Yeah, and I'm glad there is a new coach in town because with being a new coach in town, I think that it does give him a chance to actually have like a real breakout season. He's played well in the past, and I mean, I feel like he's kind of always played well, but like actually show off for the fans maybe.
Yeah, maybe some more Miles Sanders jerseys will be seen in the stands in Philly.
Maybe. So I got a bunch of other guys that I'll just like to rattle off here, just as like some potential ones. So I already mentioned Marlon Mack, and then I just have a bunch of receivers that like if they were in different situations for a variety of reasons, they all have different reasons, could have been better. But DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton, AJ Brown just needs to be targeted more, so had to throw that one in there. But now we got Julio, so I mean, maybe he doesn't need to be targeted more. It's wild there. Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, and then the only other position I had that wasn't wide receiver or running back was I had one quarterback in Joe Burrow, who's also looking like he's going to be on an uptrend this season as long as he stays alive. So who are your other options that you didn't select?
Jalen Hurts, just the entire team around him's bad, besides Miles Sanders, of course. Like, those two guys are young talent that needs to be maximized the most, and they tried to do that by getting him a receiver, so hopefully Sirianni comes up with some geniusness to help him succeed. Kyler Murray, just Cliff Kingsbury is holding him back so much. If he had a competent NFL coach and not a Texas Tech coach, I know. Believe it or not, trying to just put up 70 every NFL game isn't sustainable. If he had anyone there, like he has DeAndre Hopkins, but I mean, you can only throw it up to one guy so many times a game before the game's over at that point. We joked about it, but I did have Brandon Cooks down before you even said his name. When we started this up, I wrote it down just because I was thinking, I'm like, who's the one good guy on the Texans? Who's the one good talent there? Like, you could say Tyrod, because Tyrod's just getting held back his whole career no matter where he's been. But Brandon Cooks is like, he's just, if okay, I don't know fair. Why he chose to sign, or he was traded to the Texans, wasn't he? The Rams traded him there?
Yeah, he got traded like 12 times, remember? I mean, he's probably...
Well, I don't know why they haven't traded him yet. Trade him somewhere else.
He's probably not even like 28 years old, and he just keeps getting traded.
Yeah, he's like Todd Gurley. He's just the youngest 28-year-old in NFL history. I had Kenny G, too, because he got held back in Detroit, and now he's going to the Giants, where it seems like he's going to get held back now, but he's got a bag, So,
Yeah.
guess that makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those are my
Those
guys.
were all of them. All right.
Hmm.
I like those. I like those. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got to say our picks for the most underrated players, or
Can't wait
rather,
for
the
all these
most
guys
held
to
back
succeed.
players in the league. Um,
Yeah.
you think we're good to cut it here?
Yeah, we can cut it here.